I'm Allie, and this is not a yoga video or a meditation video. This is a video just sort of about a journey that my family has been on that I've had a lot of questions about. So this will be a pretty lengthy video, and it's about our journey towards achieving or moving towards a zero waste lifestyle. So I find that people have a lot of questions about this when it comes up, and there's a lot of interest. People are really asking me a lot of questions. They really want to know, like, how can they do this? But they feel like they don't even know where to start, or like that it's a little bit overwhelming. So I wanted to make this video to kind of give you guys an idea of how it all has been evolving for us. So we've been gradually shifting our lifestyle over the past 3 years, and only more recently have I started sharing it with people. At first just people that I felt comfortable to share it with, and then gradually I've been sort of speaking up about it a little bit more. It's definitely it's been a very slow process for us, very gradual baby steps, and it seems like it's always 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, and so on. But at this point, I'd say generally, or on average, we're down to about maybe half a small garbage bag about every 4 to 5 weeks. We'll take that out. And then the other thing that's been going well is, but not as well, is cutting down on recycling. So I'd say we have about 1/3 of the recycling that we used to have. The best thing that has come around through this process is the fact that we spend, I'd say, at least 40% less than we used to. It cuts spending massive amounts of money. So that's been really cool. And who doesn't like that? So the tipping point for me was about 3 years ago, around 3 years-ish ago, when we lost both of our dads very close together. My husband Jay and I both lost our fathers to cancer, and my dad was sick for quite a long time, most of my life, and Jay's dad was very sudden. Diagnosis, and within a year. The common thing between them was that we'd always hear people saying, like, oh, that's so unlucky, how unlucky that they were, dealt those cards. And as unfair as it was, the reason that people would say things like that was because by our standards today in North American society, they both should have been fairly healthy people. My dad was a professional athlete. He was a varsity athlete. He had a sugar addiction, but he ate well, or he tried to eat well. He'd be showing me, his health foods, and it would be like the stuff that they sell you on TV, like yogurt, healthy yogurt that's like full of sugar, that sort of thing. But he, that was all he knew, and he was trying to bring healthy things into his diet, and so he stayed really active too. Like, even when he got sick, he would swim like 2 hours a day, and he would lift weights, and like he really tried to maintain himself even though he was ill for as long as he could. And Gary, my father-in-law, was, he was a workhorse. He was working all the time. He was very active. He had a healthy diet by our standards today. He never smoked a day in his life. he had a pretty healthy lifestyle, you would think, or people will say. And there was just this thing that kept getting said, like, oh, that's so unlucky about your dad's. And there was a part sort of like deep down within me somewhere that really wasn't willing to accept that. Like, and so that's where the journey began, was that there was a part of me that knew that, like, deep down inside, that there was a lot of things we could do with our lifestyle and our stress management and our diet and our exposure to environmental toxins, and there was a lot that we could do and could control. So that's really where it shifted for me in a big way, because I had always been really interested in being environmentally friendly, and I would read about it and I would strive for it, and I would spend ridiculous amounts of money at, health food stores buying these expensive, green products and green, chemical free or plant-based this or that, and it would always be a lot more expensive, or it would feel like I was really being greenwashed. There was just something about it that didn't really feel right or easy, or it was expensive, or it just didn't seem as accessible as it should be, or it didn't feel like I was really doing the right thing. I was trying to do a good thing, but it wasn't really coming to fruition. That's when I decided I was going to start trying to make my own bathroom stuff. I started with the bathroom because I was like, you know what, that's a small room, but there's enough good that can be done in there that it'll really make an impact. And I had this yoga teacher years ago, or my yoga teacher a few years ago told me something that really resonated, which was that the skin is the largest organ in the body, and that everything that your skin absorbs has to be absorbed into the tissues and into the bloodstream and move through the digestive system and expelled from the body as toxins. So that was like, well, I really shouldn't be putting anything on my skin that's not food based. So I started really small, which was with body scrubs, and I had a lot of fun with it. I started making all sorts of body scrubs, and they were turning out so amazing, and I started making them for my friends and my family, and everybody loved them. And this one is the one I'm using now, and it's just I think it's bergamot and lavender oils, the smell, and then it's just coconut and sugar. So yeah, that's where I started in the bathroom, was just making these scrubs, and it was doing wonders for my skin. So that was really nice, and it was really kind of had this aromatherapy, a relaxing effect too, so that was great. And then I kind of went on to body butters and stuff like that, and moisturizers, and I really loved doing that. This is my little facial moisturizer that I'm using right now, and it's mostly shea butter and a few different essential oils and that sort of thing. So that was where it really began. And then as I would run out of things, I wouldn't kind of go all gung-ho. I would run out of something, and then I would attempt to make my own. And so when we ran out of toothpaste, I started trying to make my own toothpaste, and my dental hygienist she's pretty proud of me, actually. My teeth have been, no cavities, and maybe healthier gums even than I used to have. So I actually put peppermint in there and a little bit of frankincense, because that's supposed to be really good for the gums. And then the other thing that I do, which makes a huge impact, is oil pulling. So if you haven't heard of oil pulling, this one is actually a little company that emailed me some of their skinny coconut oil products, and this is an oil pulling with its coconut and peppermint oil, and I love that they put the peppermint in there, so that was kind of cool. I normally just use like sesame oil, plain sesame oil, or plain coconut oil, and it's really something they have to get used to. So that might be a nice transition, is to use something like that with peppermint, if you're interested in doing that sort of thing. And then my toothbrush, when I needed a new toothbrush, my husband got me this compostable one in my stocking at Christmas one year, or last year, I guess I should say. And yeah, I love that you can just compost it when you're done with it. when I ran out of razors, I got this nifty little kind of old school safety razor. And this should just last me for the rest of my life. You just change the tiny little blades in there, and since I've had this one, I've had it for about a year, I think, and I've only changed the razor once, I think. I don't shave all that often, my legs or anything like that, and I'm not a very hairy person, so you may go through razors faster than that. But yeah, I found that that's been really efficient. I decided to try and make my own mouthwash, and that went really well. It's peppermint as well. I have a facial toner that I use. That was one of the first things I made. It's apple cider vinegar, water, a little bit of lavender and frankincense. So yeah, my skin loves that. It's really balancing for the hormones and all of that as well. Oh, this was my attempt at sunscreen. We don't use sunscreen in my family, and some people get upset about that, but we don't get burnt ever. Sometimes if we're going to be in the sun longer than we should, we'll use clothing or hats. We'll use sometimes this stuff, which is just coconut oil and carrot seed oil. And I don't know how well it works. I don't get burned. What I do notice is that it takes away spots and moles and stuff like that. So I had like some sort of spots coming around my eyes. I think they might have been age spots or something like that, and using this stuff, they just all disappeared on their own, so that was kind of cool. I just kind of went back to old school soap in the bathroom as well. And then other questions, I think the main questions I get, well, before we cover that, this is my facial oil, so I do like an oil cleansing technique instead of washing my face. And you only have to do it every week or two, or whenever you feel like having kind of like a facial. So that's really nice as well. I've been really loving the oil cleansing. It doesn't dry out your skin, and you can pick whatever oils work best for you. The thing I get the most questions about in the hygiene area is deodorant, which was definitely a huge process. This is what I'm using right now. But there's a massive sort of detox that goes on when you leave the conventional deodorant, and it's a process for sure. I was definitely a really smelly human there for a little. And then I've made all types. I've made all kinds of deodorants, and I've had some really great successes with some. I've even, refilled deodorant containers before and used regular deodorant sticks. I found after my body detoxed, I don't even really need deodorant at all these days, and when I do feel like I might have a bit of a body odor and I need something, I might even just put a little bit of tea tree oil in my underarms, or I'll take this little roller ball, which is jojoba, I think is how you say it, jojoba oil and tea tree, and I just roll that on and I'm good to go. So yeah, that one's a little bit trickier and but definitely worth it. Like, I'm definitely feeling pretty liberated from the whole deodorant situation. And then shampoo and conditioner is another question that I get a lot, and that again was quite the process. My hair, my scalp and everything had to really detox, and it was really gross and really greasy, and it wasn't going well at the beginning. I tried all sorts of things. I tried the whole no poo, where people take baking soda and then they do apple cider vinegar. It's really bad for your hair. You shouldn't do that. There are way better ways to go about it. There are definitely people out there that have information on how to detox your scalp and hair as well to help move the process along quicker. I'm at the point where I don't need to wash my hair at all anymore. I'll make a homemade hair mask every once in a while, and I don't use conditioner. I'll just use apple cider vinegar. It really easy to brush the hair out in the shower with apple cider vinegar. Oh yeah, sometimes people ask me about Q-tips. A lot of zero wasters don't use Q-tips. Apparently it's really, really bad for your ears. We're not there yet. So we have these little compostable ones. They're just organic and made of paper and organic cotton and stuff like that. And then you just throw them in the compost. A lot of people ask me about like womanly things, and yeah, Diva cups are great, so I highly suggest that. And I don't wear makeup, so that's that's kind of an easy one because I just have this big makeup container full of makeup that I never use, so I don't know if I'll ever run out of makeup, but when I do, I will probably, just as I've done with everything else, probably try to make my own or find a really great company that does a good job with that. Jay, he also is on the anti-shampoo program. He doesn't put anything in his hair at all, and it's the healthiest it's ever been in his life, and his scalp is healthier than it's ever been in his life. So from there I moved into like cleaning products. I use a lot of essential oils. So when I'm using cleaning products, the first thing I learned was that vinegar can clean pretty much almost anything. Castile soap is great. You can use that for making all sorts of different cleaners. And I just use plain Castile soap a lot of the time to like wash dishes or things like that. Baking soda. So under here, mainly all there is baking soda, vinegar, which is where a lot of our plastic recycling comes from, is those vinegar containers. And then I make my own cleaners. Actually, I should say Jay makes most of our cleaners because he's way better at it than I am. But yeah, just a lot of vinegar, a lot of essential oils, and lots of baking soda. Lemon juice is great for cleaning as well. The essential oils that I use are from a local company. They're in Peterborough. There's two local companies actually. There's one in Haliburton and there's one in Peterborough. And Peterborough is called Ellipsis, and they're great. I really like to be able to go in and speak to them. You can speak to the owners about, the guy has been to the distilleries and he can tell you about them and why they chose this distillery over this one, and it's just really nice to be able to talk to people about the quality of the oils. It's just really nice to be able to speak with them, and their prices are really great and affordable, which is good because the essential oils would be the most sort of expensive part of any of these little things that making your own stuff. Okay, so I think what I'll do is move to starting in the kitchen stuff because that's where people get really overwhelmed, and I was really nervous to start it. When I first started moving into the kitchen, I started with, when I'd run out of spices or when I'd run out of flour and stuff like that, it was easy to just move to bulk and using my own container. So we'll just take a little look over here. Here's the pantry. My daughter likes to play with little bottles. One of the things people notice right away when they come to our house is that they love the aesthetics of the pantry and how everything's in jars and looks pretty compared to a pantry full of garbage looking things. So yeah, that's one of the upsides is these beautiful jars that you can get. And what I started doing first was looking for things with less packaging and buying what I could in bulk. So there are some great stores around that will let you bring your own containers, which is kind of cool. You can bring your own jars and things like that, and they'll weigh them, and then you can fill those. Another thing that is way less impact than all of the garbage and packaging is to do the bulk buying. I think they finally got their own containers that you can use as well. But even if you use, their little plastic bags, then when you go to transition the stuff into one of the containers, then, you're recycling this one small little plastic bag as opposed to throwing a bunch of trash into the landfill. So that's kind of cool to just start doing as much as you can in bulk. And a lot of the things for baking are bulk, a lot of spices I get in bulk. snacks like raisins and dried blueberries and that sort of thing. Sometimes we do like hot chocolate, or I have a lot of recipes that I use that call for coconut. We've got quinoa and rice and that sort of thing. Lots of dried fruit for salads. We have things like arrowroot powder and cornstarch and that sort of thing for some of the different things that I make in the bathroom or things like that. As you can see, I like to make kombucha. This is all kombucha up here, and scobies. It's like fermented tea. And we do still have things that we buy. Like, we're not fully there yet, obviously. We still have a few products that we buy that we have garbage. Like, we do these corn chips. We love to eat guacamole. So, and I do a lot of my shopping for like toilet paper and oils, like coconut oil and cold pressed extra virgin olive oil and stuff like that from Costco. So every once in a while I buy something from Costco that has either recycling or garbage. I try to go easy on myself. Like, we've cut our garbage by a lot. This is actually a recyclable package, but you know, I just got sold on this because Audrey tasted it and she liked it. So we still have a little bit of packaging in there. One of the things that's been really cool is my mom and my sisters got us these really cool beer bottles, reusable beer bottles for Christmas one year. They were really supportive when we told them we were trying to go zero waste, which was amazing. And so for Christmas, they all got us like zero waste themed gifts, which was cool. So they got us a present to go make our own beer, and they gave us these beer bottles, and we just collect these Grolsch ones and use them as well. So people are really loving my beer that I made my first time. So that was exciting. And then we do the same thing with wine. We've got a bunch of wine bottles down there. So we make our own wine, and we also buy a lot of wine because I'm really not there yet on making decent wine. One of the other cool things about having your groceries in your pantry like this is that you're not bringing in any of the packaged foods that are full of all sorts of the stuff that we don't want to put into our bodies. So there are a lot of studies that say that people that make their own food are the healthiest people in the world. So making everything from scratch, and then that way if I want to have cookies, I have to actually go and bake the cookies myself, unless I buy them from my friend Emma, because she makes these wonderful cookies that I sometimes buy and then throw in the oven. That's when I'm, anyway. But that's another nice thing that went along with that. And then the products that we do still buy, like we still have a little bit of a thing for Miss Vicky's and Tostitos and ketchup that we get from Costco and stuff like that. When I did finally decide, it's time for me to check and see, if what we need to cut out to get palm oil out of the house, because we barely have any packaged goods or anything like that these days. Like, we have sriracha, a few different things, but because we don't have a lot of that stuff, when I went and checked the things that we do have, we're already a completely palm-free house, so that palm oil-free house. So that was a nice little surprise. Oh, good! I actually don't have to do any work to get that stuff out of here. So yeah, as you move towards zero waste, it all of the different things that you're kind of striving to do, or that we should be striving to do to help create a more sustainable lifestyle for the future of this planet and our children, they all start to fall into place together. So that's kind of cool. So I'll talk a little bit more about produce. Okay, so here we are now in the kitchen, and produce, yes. So my main source of produce is either from the farmer's market, local stuff, or we use this service called Organics Live. And this just arrived last night, and it's just full of organic produce. So you get, this is a small box. There's different sizes that you can get. There's some kale, some more kale, some lettuce and tomatoes, a little bit of packaging there on the bananas, some pomegranates, a whole bunch of carrots, a whole bunch of potatoes, some apple, some limes, some avocados, some plums, and I think that might be it in this box. Yeah, that's our go-to, and we really like them because there's such little amount of packaging, and then they also, you can put this box out the next week and they pick it up and they drop off the new one. Oh. So that's great. It's like $40 for this box. Oh, this is my husband's to-go container. So I'm not a fan, I'm really not a fan of Tim Hortons, but he loves it, and so he found this container that he loves, and he said that there's this little thing you can do where you just have to find out what size to order, and then you get 10 cents off. You ask for a refill and you get 10 cents off, and you can do that at the drive-thru too. He does that at the drive-thru. This is my water bottle. I know it's kind of weird that it's an Evian bottle, but I love it, and it's what works for me. So I think we did start to do a lot of decluttering. We don't have a microwave anymore. We got rid of a lot of things that we don't use. We do use this little toaster oven all the time. The only thing that we maybe used to microwave sometime and can't do in here anymore is popcorn, which we just do in the stove in a pot like this, and it's way better that way. It's amazing, and you can drizzle whatever you want on it. It's pretty awesome. The Vitamix gets used like once to twice a day at least. It's great for smoothies. This is our tea area, so we're both really into tea. And I just get it, again, at the bulk food store, and then, or you can go to David's Tea or something fun like that if you're into that. And then this is our sort of little loose leaf tea container. You just put the tea in there. And then, yeah, we still have a few different kinds of tea bags. This is green tea. I just got the ones from the bulk barn. So you really just start to look for really amazing quality and good practices. One of the places that, well, we started saving all this money from cutting back on spending so much doing this zero waste stuff, we decided it was time to get me a really good quality winter coat, and so we just ended up buying a Patagonia one, and it's great because I know that this coat will literally last me for the rest of my life, and they have a really amazing cradle to cradle process at their company. If anything ever happens to my coat, I can just send it back to them and they'll repair it for me. So the coat is like guaranteed to last forever, so that's kind of cool that there are companies out there doing that sort of thing now. We are trying to limit our plastic as much as possible. Plastic is just another one of those things that you need fossil fuels to produce. A lot of my recipes, all of my recipes really, are on my iPad, so they're either in my Pinterest boards or in my Google Docs. There's this really amazing book that I highly recommend called Zero Waste Home. I have that on there, and she's wonderful. She's like such an inspiration. I've developed this little bit of a jar hoarding thing since we started doing this, so I'm always hoarding. This is a local honey guy, and I hoard lots of jars and then fill them back up. And then this is my friend Rhonda gave me some of her honey from her bees. It's nice when you start figuring out local people that you can buy things from. My friend Allie just started having her chickens laying eggs, and we're really excited to start buying our eggs from her instead of people that we don't know. Like these chickens are just so happy, and they're running around, and they're, living off the land and eating grubs and all sort of stuff like that. So that's really exciting. So thanks, Allie. And yeah, I think it's just a lot to do with taking baby steps, like one foot in front of the other, taking your time, choosing the things that really work for you and starting with that. So I really went for things that really worked for me, and then just learning constantly. Like, just be really open to learning new things. Be really open to what you hear, perhaps about things that maybe you don't want to hear, like that plastic is contributing to all sorts of problems, from needing fossil fuels to produce it, to actually being toxic to our bodies and disrupting our hormones, to killing the oceans and that sort of thing. So we're really pretty anti-plastic around here. We're trying to eliminate it as much as possible. Of course, it makes its way into the home, but like step by step, we're getting better with that. I highly recommend looking at the sort of the pyramid of R's in that zero waste book, which is it goes refuse, reuse, one other R in there. I might have to look this up for you guys. Anyways, and then it goes recycle is at the bottom. You should try to do that the least amount. And then rot, which is composting, which is really important to learn how to compost. So that's where we want to really cultivate our skills, because I don't feel like I'm a very good composter. I compost things, but really it just gets thrown in a bin outside and then the animals come and steal it all. So I'd like to try and get a little bit better with that and actually get into the process of composting. I think too, a lot of it has to do with changing your mindset a little bit. So for me, people talk about convenience all the time, and like, oh, the convenience of doing that, or oh, I don't have time to do this or that, and you just make the time. I'd say that my perspective shifted from what I found convenient, which was the convenience of not having to deal with garbage anymore. Like, I really feel liberated from that whole like weekly ritual of having to go around the house and gather all the garbage and the smells and the taking it all outside and throwing it in the bin and taking it to the end of the road, and then the animals break in and then there's garbage everywhere all over the place, and the crows are eating it and the raccoons are in there, and like it's just a nightmare. So that's not convenient for me anymore. Now that I don't have to deal with that, I'm like, oh yeah, it's more convenient for me to just be organized and try not to bring any waste into my home to begin with. So that really shifted. The other thing is things like diapers. We have a 1.5-year-old, my girl Audrey, and we do our own bum wipes, and we do our own we do the whole cloth diapering thing, and we never run out of diapers, and it's incredibly convenient. I don't have to ever go to the store and spend money on a bunch of practices and companies that I don't support in my values. So it's more convenient for me when I'm like, when I run out of diapers, I just throw them in the washing machine. I don't have to drive to the store, which might not be open because we live in Bobcaygeon, and then spend a bunch of money I don't want to spend, and contribute to this huge problem with deforestation and incredible amounts of bleach going into these products, and then the whole landfill thing too. It's just, the human feces shouldn't be in the landfill. Anyway, that's a whole nother thing. That's just my personal way of looking at it now, is that it's much more convenient for me to just say, oh, we're running low on diapers, and throw them in the washing machine. It's very simple, it's very convenient. So you guys might have questions, and that's great. One thing that's been really important for me is support of like friends and family who are like-minded, or who are moving in the same directions. My friend Steph always seems to be, whether we're hanging out all the time or whether we haven't seen each other in a long time, she always seems to be like kind of on the same journey as me simultaneously. So she's always reading too, just like me. So she's a huge wealth of information that I can bounce things off of and learn things from. And my friend Tina and my friend Alexa, they both just moved into tiny houses, so it's really cool to bounce ideas off of them and learn what they're doing. And they have a farm as well. So, and my friend Judy, who gave me all these wonderful scobies, and all this is all kombucha too. These are all my different flavors of kombucha. So she has her own little permaculture farm, which is where we want to go one day, is actually starting to that's like the future goal is, okay, as we move through these steps, starting to grow our own food and in a permaculture style of way, and really creating a sanctuary around our home for butterflies and bees and animals that need our support. With all of the money that we're saving, we're starting to put it into savings to get things like solar panels. If you saw, Elon Musk just released his new solar shingles, roof shingles, so that's exciting. So maybe that's what we'll end up doing once we save up the money. But we always have things to look at in our lifestyle that are things to tackle in the future. We really like to travel, so that's one that we have to sort of figure out. We've been talking about, you driving to California or doing things like that. It's kind of in the works of how are we going to sustainably do the things we love. Like, we love boating. We're both pretty big meat eaters. I've been making a shift there. That's a huge one. It's a huge commitment, and I'm looking forward to learning from some of my vegan and vegetarian friends. I'm really lucky. My little sister's a vegan, and she's a wealth of information of how we can be have less of an impact with our choices around meat. Right now, we're getting all of our meat from the local butcher shop or from the farmer's market, and so that feels better than just, we don't know where it's coming from, and it could be coming from the rainforest or all sorts of problems around commercial farming that we really want to avoid as much as possible. So yeah, I'd say like the future is really exciting. I'm excited to one day hopefully be like completely off-grid, completely sustainable, and I really would love to one day be carbon positive instead of carbon neutral, or no, what do we want to be? Negative. Anyway, you know what I'm trying to say. So you can give back in so many different ways, and you can pay your own carbon taxes on websites online, or you can buy this really cool type of algae kelp stuff out in California that that absorbs all sorts of carbon and really helps to oxygenate the oceans and the air. And yeah, there's lots of cool things to think about and to learn, and I think the main thing is not being judgmental and not judging other people's experiences, and knowing that everybody's doing their best, and people are more open to trying things when you're just living your life and leading by example, as opposed to trying to like impose your values on them. So that's been a really big one, I think. I try my very best not to impose any of my values on my friends who aren't really ready to go there yet or anything like that. I don't judge anybody else's lifestyle. For the people who are open to it and that want to learn more about it, that just gets me excited, and I want to help those people start to transition. And there's lots of amazing resources out there, like I was saying, that Zero Waste Home book, a website I love, a blog called Sustainable Baby Steps. She's a genius. There's another girl in New York, I forgot her name. I think her Instagram is like Trash is for Tossers or something like that. Yeah, that's it. And yeah, lots of resources, lots of amazing things to try, and just learning from each other. I'm hoping to start doing some workshops here for people who are interested and want to really like get their hands on some of these things. So that's something that I'll be doing in the future. Hopefully with the help of some of my amazing friends who are on the same path and kind of paving the way. So anyways, that's that, and I just really wanted to cover some things that we've been doing locally and where we're hoping to go, and yeah, I hope you found this video helpful. Okay, bye.